Okay, so in the previous tutorial, we learned that WebRTC is majorly divided into four parts, right? First one is signaling, second one is connecting, third one is securing, and the fourth one is communicating. Now note that these are not just the part, okay? These are sequential parts of the WebRTC, okay? So when you start the communication in the WebRTC, first thing that you need to do is the signaling, okay? The signaling, and then after the signaling, you'll be doing the connecting. So until unless signaling phase is completed, you won't be able to move to connecting phase. All right, and once the connecting phase is done, you will move to securing phase, and after that you will actually start communicating. All right, so let's begin with the signaling phase in this tutorial. All right, so what signaling is actually, okay? Suppose we have two peers, okay, p1 and p2. Both of them wants to communicate using the WebRTC, right? So the first thing that they have to do is show one of them have to show the intent, right? So one of them will show the intent. Okay, I want to communicate with you. Okay, so for that they will have to exchange some information among them, or in other words you can say they'll have to signal. The p1 will have to signal p2 that I want to communicate with you, and then the p2 will have to accept that signal and signal back the p1. Okay, so both of them, they have to signal each other, okay, and agree upon some common terms. All right, once they agree upon the common terms, then they can begin connecting with each other, and followed by securing those connections and then communicating. All right, so how they can signal each other? For that we have this signaling phase, and and why do we call it signaling? Okay, and what all things happens in the signaling phase, let's understand that. Okay, so in a typical internet applications, if you see like websites and all, there the architectures are like, you have a client, right, and you have a server, right? You have a server. So client always makes a request to the server and gets a response, right? So in this case, server will always have a fixed address, right? And that address will be a DNS address, which will be mapped to a IP address, right? And that IP address has to be routable IP address. By routable IP address, I mean it has to be recognized by the internet. And how it can be recognized by the internet? For that, it will have to be a public IP address, right? So there are concept of public and private IP address, if you know, in the IPv4, right? So only public IP address can be routable, and private IP address can only be routable with the support of this public IP address, right? So we will talk about all these things, public and private IP address, in a separate video in the connecting phase. So for now, let's understand this basic architecture of web applications. All right. So here, one client will always make request to this server using this fixed address, right, and will get a response, right? But in case of this scenario, in our scenario where two peers wants to connect with each other, right, this scenario here, this is, assume this is me and this is you. Okay, we are not a server, right? We don't have a fixed address. We'll be sitting behind some private, or so behind some router where we'll get the IP address from a router that will be a private IP address, right? So the scenario will be something like that. Okay, but now we want to exchange some information with each other, right? Since we don't have any fixed address, for that case we need some medium to exchange the information, right? And the medium that we need to exchange that information is called a signaling server, and that signaling server can be any medium. Here you can see I have mentioned like zip, WebSocket, email, text message, anything, whatever is the medium, you can use that medium, and you have to send that information using that medium to the other peer, and the other peer will also send the information through this medium to you. Okay, that's how you will exchange the information using this signaling server. Now what happens in this case, what information you are going to exchange, right? So for that, let's see. All right, so now you understand the signaling server, right? So in the signaling phase, when p1 wants to show the intent or wants to signal the p2 about its intention to communicate with the p2, what p1 has to do, it has to create an offer. Okay, in the WebRTC term, it's called an offer. Okay, that offer will that offer is called a session description. I'm just adding all these jargons so that it's easy for you to follow through. Okay, and later on when you discover these jargons anywhere, you understand what is session description, what is offer and all. Okay, so just follow along and you will understand. I'll bring all these jargons whenever it is required, and that way it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, so the P1 will have to create this offer, and that offer is nothing but the session description. And what is this session description? This session description will contain the capability of the P1, okay, media information and few more other things. All right, that P1 will create and send it to P2 using the signaling server. Okay, okay. So after that, once P1 has sent this offer to P2 using this or through this signaling server, P2 has to read this offer. Okay, whatever is information available in that offer, it will just go through that, and it has to accept or reject. But in order to establish this connection, it will have to accept that offer. So this offer will come here, and P2 will accept this offer. Okay, and after accepting this offer, P2 will again create an answer. Okay, P2 will create an answer that will again be a session description. Okay, and this session description in both the cases will be SDP. Okay, it's a session description protocol. Okay, it's a session description protocol, and it has a specific format. That format is JSEP. So this JSEP is nothing but, the full form of JSEP is JavaScript Session Establishment Protocol. Okay, it's just a format how you keep information. Just like we have this JSON, right? We have JSON where you keep key value pair like this. Okay, in the curly braces like this, right? So in JSEP format, JSEP format, it will be like this: key and then equal to some value. Okay, and then that value can be space separated some other thing. Okay, so that we will understand properly when we will come to the SDP section. All right, so meanwhile, understand this one, like this SDP is uses this format, okay, for the WebRTC purpose. All right, so once the P2, this peer, accepts this offer and generates this answer will again be sent back to the P1. Now P1 will have to read through this answer. Okay, if it looks good, it will have to accept the answer. Okay, that answer will come here, and it will have to accept. So after accepting this answer, the first phase of the WebRTC is complete now. Okay, so signaling is done. Both of them signaled each other their capabilities. Okay, and now they are done with the signaling phase. Okay, once this is done, the next phase that will begin will be the connecting phase. All right, so for the connecting phase, let's see how the connecting happens, how these two connects after exchanging these offers. Let's understand the connecting phase in depth. That this connecting phase is going to be the very important and the most important and most confusing and complex part of the WebRTC. If you understand the connecting phase, you understand most of the WebRTC fundamentals. All right, so see you in the next tutorial.